All right, hi everyone. Welcome to Believe in Bills. I'm Adam Benigni, WGRZ-TV in Buffalo. He is Sal Maiorana of the Rochester Democrat and Chronicle, and he is just back from Chicago today. How you doing, Sal?
Yeah, another, the travel woes have begun. So spent an hour and 15 minutes sitting on a plane on the runway because the traffic jam at O'Hare. So yeah, I love when I get a direct flight at him, and I could have had a connection. It would have been just as long
I know.
to get home. But anyways, I'm back. We're ready to go. It came back to a new country today. 70 degrees in Rochester.
Right.
Wow, that was shocking after 94 degrees in Chicago for 3 days. So yeah, this is beautiful.
Yeah, this is absolutely spectacular. I know you're fresh off a walk with the dog, and I think we've all
Yep.
had our share of nightmares through O'Hare, and Atlanta's another one that is
Yeah.
just a brutal airport. But that is true to form for Sal Maiorana, kind of the planes, trains, and automobiles, and a new chapter, another of many. We should add. Speaking of chapters and kind of rough goes, that certainly describes the Bills' 38-0 loss to the Chicago Bears last night. Preseason, of course. And look, FanDuel, as we have mentioned, a presenting sponsor for this particular program, also has the Bills plus 700 to win the Super Bowl, 12.5%. I don't know that last night's performance does anything to alter those
Yeah.
odds. I mean, we all understand the preseason and kind of the philosophy the Bills had coming off the joint practice and everything. But nonetheless, that was disturbing in some ways. How much, I don't know, I'll use the word concern, do you have over what you saw?
Yeah, I mean, the level of overall concern for the Bills' well-being is very, very low. I mean, you don't put anything into what happened last night in terms of the score or any of the things surrounding it. Look, they went in to Chicago. It was very clear that they went there to practice with the Bears, and they worked hard at them. That session lasted. It was about 2 hours and 15 minutes, and the bulk of that practice was 11 on 11. They did not do. They did a little bit of 7-on-7 early, but it wasn't like they would do receiver versus DB one-on-one. There was almost no defensive line versus offensive line drills off to the side like they have done in the past. This was, I think, both coaches wanted to get work 11 on 11 in specific situations. So it was a lengthy practice, and it's not quite a game because you're not tackling to the ground. But I think both teams got a lot out of that session. And for the Bills and the Bears, they're in two different spots, right? The Bills are an established Super Bowl contender. They're trying to figure out the bottom of their roster. The Bears have a new coach in Ben Johnson, a new staff, a new culture, a new philosophy. Their quarterback is a number one overall pick in his second year who, needs to start showing that he was worth that pick. They're in a different spot. They're out for blood in the preseason. They kicked the hell out of the Dolphins the week before in practice and the game, and they kicked the hell out of the Bills because he's trying to establish something there. So they were two different teams in different spots. So I understand. I mean, I kind of had a feeling the Bills were going to get thumped. I didn't think it'd be 38-0, but I did think, even though the Bears only played their ones for, I think it was 2 series, what was disturbing is that the 2s-on-2s and 3s-on-3s were also a mismatch. So again, don't take anything from it. Don't worry, but we're going to get to it right now, Adam. There are certainly specific areas that I think the Bills have got to start figuring out here before the week one opener against the Ravens.
Yeah, right. Time's starting to run a little bit short here, and there are, within all of that, areas of concern. Just to your point, I mean, we've seen the Bills go through this with Josh Allen under Sean McDermott and Brandon Beane. Not so, kind of coincidentally, actually, the Bears actually, they have a stadium issue at play as well, too, that was addressed on the game broadcast last night. So we've seen the Bills sort of be in the mode with this iteration, under Josh Allen and everything much earlier in his career to kind of understand, what they were trying to do and what they're selling philosophically. The Bills have sold their product to a great degree with the success they've had, and now it's that final hurdle to get over the top. Now, can they get over the top? Is this the team to do it? There's so many indications that it is, But as you said, we're going to kind of dissect, and you've outlined this very well in the Rochester Democrat and Chronicle as well, some of the areas that seem to have legitimate concerns surrounding them. Let's get to backup quarterback. I don't know how much you can glean from that one last night, given the personnel that was in there, and it was a disastrous in terms of execution in a lot of ways, not to make too much out of that. I feel like Mitch Trubisky is going to be the two at this point. Do you?
Yeah, I do believe that. Look, I asked Sean point blank last night. I said, you gave Trubisky almost a quarter and a half in the first game with the first string unit. And it really wasn't a fair competition because Mike White didn't get that chance, Sunday night. He was playing with a backup backups all the way across, except for Josh Palmer, who got a few reps in because he's missed so much practice time. So right there, you would think if this was a legitimate competition, Adam, he would have planned his preseason to give the starters the start in both of the first two games, to give each quarterback the opportunity to show what he can do. Well, he didn't do that. So I already feel like they've made the decision Trubisky is going to be their guy. Now the call will be, do you keep Mike White for the practice squad, or do you go on the cheap and you save, a little bit of money and just stick with Shane Buechele and let Mike White, walk away? That'll be the call I think they have to make. But it looks like Trubisky's team. Mike White, again, you can't really glean much from last night. He's playing behind an offensive line that all five of those guys are going to be lucky to make the team. I mean, Chase Lutton will probably make it. And I'm not even sure about Vandermark at this point. I mean, if Tylen Grable gets out of concussion protocol, he's the swing tackle, not Ryan Vandermark. So there might not be a single player that's going to be on the 53-man roster who was trying to block for Mike White last night. So, yeah, I think Trubisky's the guy.
All right, so certainly high on the list of concerns. And we've talked about this on a number of shows and heard Sean McDermott address it to this effect, is the safety position, right?
Yeah.
And, with Jordan Poyer and Micah Hyde all through the years and the luxury that the Bills had, a kind of cornerstone duo back there, and were able to accomplish so much defensively with the two of them in large part as a foundation. Now they're trying to recreate that again. And, they drafted Cole Bishop for a reason, right? And at this point, with his development and the amount of time he's spent injured and that sort of a thing, how much concern do you have at the safety position now?
Yeah, I have a little bit of concern, and I think the Bills do too. Look, Cole Bishop, until we can see something, he's looking like a second round. I'm not going to call him a bust. It's way too early to say that. He has underperformed as a second round pick. Now, granted, he got hurt last year, and that we've talked about it a million times. That definitely derailed his season. He started to get back towards the end of the year, and you felt like, okay, he's got that on his resume. Now take it forward this season. But then he got hurt, and he missed the mini camp. He missed parts of this training camp already, didn't play in the first game, and only had, I think it was like, I didn't look at PFF today, but I think it was like 10 to 12 snaps. He was the only starter on defense who played against the Bears because he had to. And while he was out there, he got burned for a touchdown. It was a brutal play. I mean, the slot receiver, he had terrible inside leverage on Bishop. He just misread the play. The guy beat him clean for a 36-yard touchdown. Damar Hamlin was back deep, just totally was late on figuring out what had happened, and the guy ran right through him for a touchdown. That was an awful play. I mean, that was just a bad play by two guys you're counting on who are going to play this year. Cole Bishop has got to figure it out, man, because I think Taylor Rapp is fine. I think they're fine with Taylor Rapp. He's a little bit injury proud, but I think he's a pretty good player. But they can't go into this season with Damar Hamlin again as a starting safety, Adam. I mean, enough's enough. The story's great. We understand it. He's a backup player. Cole Bishop's got to win this job. But right now, I can't give it to Cole Bishop. He hasn't shown enough. So, yeah, it's a problem.
What else could be a problem is the secondary in general, the cornerback position, right? You got the Hairston injury. Tre'Davious White, has looked shaky. Obviously a veteran back, and there's a real feel-good aspect to his return. But I feel like at this point, if, the Baltimore Ravens are starting to size them up and think about the opener and that sort of a thing, I feel like they're going to be vulnerable back there.
Oh, I think I'm in the same boat with you there. Look, Tre'Davious White, as you said, we've talked about it already. Great story. It's a great story that he's back. Can he play? I don't know. He's had 2 major injuries. I think he's 30. I want to say he's 30 now. He's at an age where a cornerback would start to fall off a bit. He has not impressed me. I mean, I know I'm probably in the minority here because everyone likes Trey. Everyone loves Trey, but he hasn't been very good. In the preseason game, the Giants went right after him. The Bears went after him in the practice. Nobody's going to throw towards Christian Benford's side, if at all possible. They're going to avoid him, and they're going to go the other way. And then you look at the depth, Adam. I don't think Max Hairston I think Max Hairston will probably start the year on injured reserve. I mean, he's just getting off the crutches now. There's no way he's going to be ready to go. I don't think for week 1. And even if he is, he's going to be a backup player. Dane Jackson has looked brutal. I can't even imagine that they would consider keeping Dane Jackson. I don't care if he's I don't care if he's a veteran who knows the defense. He does not look good at all. They moved on from him last year, and he didn't do anything with the Panthers. Now he's back. I don't see it. So now you're looking at Dorian Strong, Jamarcus Ingram, who's a mediocrity. Again, nice story, kid from UB. Do you really want to rely on Jamarcus Ingram for a full game? I don't think so. Dorian Strong certainly isn't ready to go. They've got an issue there. Trey White is going to have to he's going to have to turn it around and be really good early in the year, or else I think the Bills are highly susceptible in the pass game right now on defense.
Right. You hope. I mean, there's every indication they'll have their act together offensively and be putting points on the board. But in terms of the pass defense, I mean, there are very legitimate questions and concerns at this point as you look at that season opener against Baltimore and the regular season fast approaching here. All right. Speaking of the offense, to me, looking at the receiver position, that was one thing that you and I had talked about, an area we were going to pay particular attention to during the preseason. Let me pose it to you this way, and my opinion, I think Shavers should be on this team.
Yeah,
Tyrell Shavers should be on the team. Elijah Moore, I mean, I don't know. What's your take on that? Every time you watch and what he brings to the table, I mean, I think he could be a valuable component of this offense and the level of consistency that he brings.
Yeah, I mean, I liked the Elijah Moore signing. I've been trumpeting it since he showed up. He's got 200 catches in the NFL from lousy quarterbacks with the Browns and Jets. So I was really thinking you put him with Josh Allen in this offense, he could really be a key player for you. Well, he hasn't really performed. He had 2 brutal drops in this game. And again, I'm not going to pin it all on just the one game, but he was sort of invisible in the Giants game, right? They didn't play long, but he didn't really do anything. He's been okay in practice. He makes plays in practice, but Tyrell Shavers pops every day. I mean, in practice, he's making plays against the Bears in the practice. He made a few nice catches. He had their best play really on offense last night. He made a nice back shoulder catch from, I think it was Mike White. It was early in the game. He's starting to play a little bit on special teams, which is the key for those, 4th and 5th wide receivers. Elijah Moore really isn't doing that unless you're going to have him return kicks. And he's only had a couple reps. Right now, if you're going to ask me to choose between those 2 players, I'm taking Shavers. And here's another reason, Adam, and it goes 2 ways here. Khalil Shakir and Elijah Moore are so similar in what they can do. Now, you can look at it 2 ways. With Shakir's high ankle sprain, which those can linger, even if he'll be ready for week 1, that's easy to re-aggravate. Maybe you want to have Elijah Moore because he can plug right in to be that slot receiver type of guy. Or you look at it as these 2 guys do the same thing. I want a different skill set in my receiving core, and Shavers definitely at 6'4", 210 pounds with a little bit of speed. He gives you a different look than Elijah Moore. I'm sorry. Right now, today, he's making the team for me, and Elijah Moore is not.
Right. You make the argument on those 2 points, skill set and execution and performance. I mean, I would agree with you, too, that Shaver should be on the team. And I'm not hesitating in coming up with that answer either. You don't have to really give it much thought. I don't think at this point.
Here's the other thing, Adam. Curtis Samuel is useless. So, I mean, if you're telling me between Curtis Samuel and Elijah Moore, I'm taking Elijah Moore every day. And the contract with Samuel is a little bit ugly. I get it. But if I had the choice right now, and it's not my money that I'm pissing away here, Curtis Samuel is the guy I cut. He was a 0 last year. He has done absolutely nothing. I think he practiced the first 2 days at Fisher. We haven't seen him since. He was dressed last night, didn't get in the game. He's done nothing. I would cut him in a flash, and you just got to figure out a way to eat the money. And I would keep Elijah Moore over him. But if you're going to have him because of his contract on the team, and it's down to Moore and Shavers, I'm taking Shavers right now.
Yeah, I agree. We agree. One other positive I wanted to mention, and they're hard to find coming out of that particular game. And, we won't make too much out of it. And it's one of the guys facing the 6-game suspension, right? Michael Hoyt. I think they have something in him.
Yeah. And Sean said that. He said, we've had our eye on him for a couple of years. So they clearly were thinking when this guy hits free agency, we want to make a play. And sure enough, they did. And they gave him a nice deal. It's really unfortunate that this thing happened with this PAD suspension. They're going to miss him at the start of the year. I've liked what I've seen. Now, again, yesterday, he gets a sack. The Bears had their second team offensive line in at that point. So, okay, whatever. It's a sack, though. But he brings energy at him on every snap he plays. There's a lot of guys do that. This guy is so versatile. They can use him, and that was one of the reasons they signed him. They can put him on the line as an edge rusher. They can bring him back as a linebacker standing up, and he can actually cover. They can do a lot of different things with him. I like him a lot, and it's going to hurt, but they're not going to have him those first 6 games. I mean, they can get by with A.J. Epinesa. Landon Jackson, to be honest, Adam, right now he's inactive for me week 1. He really has not done a whole lot in the first 2 preseason games. He looks a little bit overmatched right now, and I'm surprised by that because I really did think, 3rd-round pick, he had a nice career at Arkansas. I was expecting more. I thought he would be an immediate, rotating edge rusher. At this point, I don't really see it. I mean, I think Javon Sullivan might actually get the game jersey early in the season here. You got Bosa and Rousseau, obviously, your starters, A.J. Epinesa. I think Solomon has kind of outplayed Landon Jackson. So early in the year, that's what you might see. They needed Landon Jackson to step up, and he really hasn't done it yet.
All right. Interesting take. And just to kind of wrap it up here, and you alluded to this off the top, and I thought it kind of telling, and I agree with you. I mean, the Bills went to Chicago really to practice, that joint practice, and they count on getting so much out of that. So I guess as you assess the overall trip, because you were there to cover both or whatever, and again, not putting too much stock into what was just a really ugly performance on the field, do you feel like in terms of what they got out of this in that joint practice that the glass is kind of more than half full?
I wouldn't say more than half full. I would say it's half full. I think McDermott liked what he got out of the practice. It was a good competitive work. They controlled the environment, protected the quarterback, obviously. The Bears gave Josh Allen trouble early in that practice in the 7-on-7. He sort of turned it around once they went 11-on-11, so that was good to see. Some receivers won on some routes. Keon Coleman had a great play in that practice, so that was good from that standpoint. I think coming away from the weekend itself, though, I can tell you McDermott was pissed off last night. He didn't care that they lost the game. That again, I really believe they did mail it in. They didn't care what happened as far as wins or losses. But I know he was not happy with the lack of attention to detail that his team showed. They were sloppy, and he made the point that it's one thing for the Bears ones to outplay Buffalo's twos, but when it was 2-on-2 and 3s-on-3s, the Bears dominated them. And it was ugly from start to finish. There wasn't a moment in that game where the Bills looked like the better team. And I think that was concerning for McDermott. And I understand you look at these backup players, and there was a big push on social media about, oh man, the Bills have 0 depth. You got to remember that depth players, when they get into a game in the regular season, are playing with starters. So that helps minimize the fact that, they're not a starting player. They're going to be playing with starting players. When you put 11 reserves on the field at the same time, there's going to be problems. So, you got to take that and understand that was part of the problem for the Bills. Now, again, the Bears 2s and 3s, same situation for them. But I just think that McDermott, there was a long weekend. I mean, they got there Thursday. and they're coming home Sunday night. It's a long trip for a football team, to be on the road like that. So I think they were dying to get home. They just wanted to get the game over. The number one goal, as always, get out healthy. And with the exception of Jordan Hancock, which we didn't touch on, that would be a big loss if he can't play. He has played really well. I mean, that guy has played. He's been better than DeMar Hamlin, I'll tell you that. Cam Lewis was hurt. I don't know if he's better than Cam Lewis at this point, but he's been a nice player. He said in the locker room that he's going to be fine. Now, you and I both know you never pay attention to what a player or coach says about an injury because they're always lying to us. So I hope that he was being truthful and not just, yeah, I'll be okay. Because if he's going to be out, you talk about safety issues. Now they're really in trouble. So, yeah. So overall, I'm batting around your point here. I think the weekend was a half full weekend. The practice was good work. The game, he needed to see more from his team. Didn't care that they lost, but they just didn't look good in the losing.
Right. And it's not even, of course, there's always a lack of a game plan, in a preseason game. But when you start hearing fundamentals referenced and those types of things, and that will, that very much goes against Sean McDermott's grain, and his reaction certainly spoke to that. All right, that's going to do it. Bills with one final preseason game, Tampa Bay on Saturday night, and then a look ahead to the regular season opener against the Baltimore Ravens. Sal, welcome back.
Thank you.
All right, it's been a pleasure as always. This has been Believe in Bills, presented by FanDuel. I am Adam Benigni, WGRZ-TV, and Sports Talk Live Buffalo, Sal Maiorana of the Rochester Democrat and Chronicle. We're back later this week with another edition of the show heading into that game and then post-game coverage Saturday as well. Thanks for being with us here in Believe in Bills.